Not too long ago, Sony raised the price of the PlayStation Portal and it now costs $250. For a device that has been called pointless, an absolute ripoff, and the worst purchase someone has ever made, you're left with questions very few people ask. Why has it sold 2 million units? And why did it become the best-selling PlayStation accessory of the year, beating the DualSense controller, which is a product people actually need? Now, hold it right there, we'll get into it in just a bit. When it comes to the critics, they were not wrong about its specs and limitations, but there's one measurement that has been missed by every single review I've watched or read about this device. Once you see it, the whole argument flips. For starters, let's be completely fair and make the strongest possible case against the Portal, because if you're going to flip this argument, we need to earn it. Starting with the obvious, at this point in its life cycle, we all know the PS Portal does not run games natively. And that's because it has no internal storage for games and no processor to run those games. At its core, it's a screen bolted between two halves of a DualSense controller, and everything it does is streamed either from your PlayStation at home or via cloud servers if you are on PlayStation Plus Premium and in the right country. Case in point, Australia still doesn't have cloud streaming. Now, the moment that stream breaks, you're holding a very expensive piece of plastic with excellent haptics and nowhere to go. Again, if you're new to the PlayStation Portal, it requires Wi-Fi, and Sony specifically recommends a minimum of 15 megabytes per second connection. That means if your Wi-Fi works like that of a shopping center, just forget about it. The ROG Xbox Ally and the Switch, on the other hand, don't care where you are. They play games whether you're on the plane, in a car, or submarine. In short, your Portal's pulse is controlled by how good your internet connection is. That's the rough lay of the Portal land for those who needed to be brought up to scratch. Now, moving on to stuff you might have missed, like mentioned earlier, Sony raised the price again, and for those who didn't know, at the time of recording this video, it now goes for $250, and that hike happened in the same month as a $100 increase on the PS5 and a $150 increase on the PS5 Pro. Sony attributed this global round of increases to tariffs, GDDR6 chip shortages driven by AI demand, and supply chain instability. It's obvious why that matters. The device that critics have called overpriced since day one just got more expensive. That's either extraordinary arrogance or extraordinary confidence. We'll get to that in just a bit. At $250 American dollars, you are $150 away from the Nintendo Switch 2. Mind you, it plays games natively, offline, and comes with a library you cannot get anywhere else. Carrying on with that same train of thought, you're also $350 away from a Steam Deck OLED, which, by the way, doesn't need your home network to function. Now compare that to the PS Portal, which needs internet connection to do anything. I always like to joke you can replicate about 80% of what the PS Portal does with your phone. Just grab the backbone controller, then download the PlayStation Remote Play app. And just like that, you have a somewhat similar experience, minus the haptics. This quote says it all. Now, I totally get it, but here's what that kind of comparison gets wrong. It's comparing the Portal to devices that solve a different problem. The Switch solves, I want to play games anywhere in the world independently without relying on anything. The Portal doesn't solve that. Instead, it solves something entirely different, and it's a problem that is quietly enormous and almost completely unspoken in gaming coverage. It solves negotiation of the team. Now, at the time of this recording, nearly 2 million people and counting have bought this device. You'd imagine a good chunk of them had already read and watched the reviews, they'd seen the comparison charts, they had already seen the Reddit threads calling it pointless, but they bought it anyway. So I went looking for why, and some of the answers that came up over and over again in comment sections, Reddit threads, and Amazon reviews are: many people buy Portals because they are dads who don't have access to the TV because they have a wife and her needs come first. Another one said, we have a 70-inch TV in the bedroom. I woke up at 3 a.m. an hour earlier than my alarm. 90% my wife would hit me with a pillow if I turned on the TV and started playing a game. So I turned on the Portal and got to play an hour of Persona 5 before gym/work. Good times. There's also this one. Seriously, my gal has been putting Love Island every time on the dot at 6 p.m, which is coincidentally when I get home from work, and I just sit back and load up my Oblivion on my portal before I, to be honest. That's the metric no review measures, and it's got nothing to do with gigaflops, streaming bitrate, or library size. The metric is how many hours of gaming were you losing per week before you bought this for the avid gamers out there? If you live alone and you're not into the PlayStation ecosystem, the portal is probably not for you. But if there's one other person in your living space with a competing claim on that television, then you're conservatively losing 10 to 15 hours of gaming time per week for those who gaming is super important. Now, crunching up the numbers per year, that's somewhere between 500 and 800 hours of PS5 gaming that just evaporates. What would you pay to get that back for the avid gamers out there? Now, before you blow my head off in the comments, like mentioned earlier, the Backbone clip-on controller works with remote play. I know that, but here's what you're not getting with the phone: adaptive triggers and real haptics. That tactility is the difference between walking on gravel versus walking on grass, the feedback in a bow and arrow draw, all that stuff. Matter of fact, Sony spent years making the DualSense Edge controller one of the most sophisticated controllers on the market. The Portal is the only portable device that delivers the full uncompromised version of it. Now let's talk about the comparison that should be in every Portal review but isn't. This is a bit nuanced, but the Portal isn't $250 compared to free. It's $250 compared to $600 plus, and almost no review frames it that way because almost no reviewer is asking, what does a second gaming setup cost? Having built a few setups at this point, I know how exactly that gets out of hand. Just like cloud streaming quite literally got out of the hands of Australian gamers like me. It launched in November 2025 for PS Plus premium subscribers, and it allowed you to stream over 2,800 games directly from Sony servers with no PS5 required. Just like that, the cloud streamer user base grew 162% year over year in January 2026. That's not a number Sony is shouting about, but a 162% growth rate on a feature that's only been live for a few months tells you something. A lot of people who thought they bought a niche accessory just discovered they bought something more significant. That said, if you already pay for PS Plus Premium, which costs $160 a year, cloud streaming is a feature you are already paying for. It's not a new cost, it's unlocking functionality inside a subscription most PS5 owners already have. Going by that, the Portal is just a hardware interface for something you're already subscribed to. Speaking of hardware, while the Portal launched with a 1080p resolution screen, Sony pushed 1080p high quality mode not too long ago, and that significantly improved the visual fidelity. As a result, the maximum streaming bitrate increased from 15 to 25 megabytes per second, and you'll now get trophy notifications, game invite pop-ups that actually appear mid-session. Oh, and also a QR code sign-in. Now, I know these are not headline features, but they're the kind of iterative improvements that turn a version 1 product into something that feels finished. In the beginning, you could get it to work at home, but not without going through a few hoops. Now, 5G mobile hotspots have gotten good enough that a growing number of users run it over phone hotspots. It's not what Sony officially recommends, but it works. And it means Reddit posts that say, "This only works in the house" are increasingly becoming "This works anywhere with a decent mobile signal," which in my opinion is the ultimate comeback story from a product that was deemed to fail. So nearly 2 million units and counting sold, best-selling PlayStation accessory of the year, a 162 year-on-year growth in cloud streaming users, a second price hike in less than a year. None of that fits the narrative that the Portal is a pointless product that no one wants. What it tells you is that the people buying this device are not measuring it the way reviewers measure it. They're not asking, how does this compare to the Steam Deck? They're asking, what does this do for my specific situation? Which may range from a shared TV, lost gaming hours, no second console. The Portal answers a question that no other product answers cleanly. At $199, the Portal was decent value for the right person. At $250 with cloud streaming, 1080p quality mode shipped, and the PS5 sitting at $650, the value case has counterintuitively strengthened. And that's because gaming in general has become so expensive. Whether you're looking at enthusiast PC builds, handhelds, consoles, everything has just gone through the roof. Is it for everyone? Definitely not. If you want true portability, offline anywhere, get a Switch 2 or a Steam Deck. That's not even a debate, but if you're a PS5 owner who shares a living space, has a PS Plus premium subscription, wants the full DualSense experience without the living room, and doesn't want to spend $650 or more on a second console just to game in a different room, $250 on the PS Portal isn't terrible value in my opinion. Well, there you have it guys. I hope you enjoyed and found this video helpful. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and click the notification bell to get notified whenever I post a new video. If you'd like to try what's across the fence, here's a long-term review of the ROG Xbox Ally. Until then, people of the internet, I'm signing out. See you over here.